What kinds of health issues would you say are the most common that you see in kids?
I see a lot of asthma, headache that is due to the diet. I do see a lot of childhood obesity. I do see some hypertension. Those are the scary adult world things that I just never thought that I would see to this degree in children. So that was really, really tragic to me, because I think back about my own childhood, summer spent, playing and running all day, just enjoying my life. And I want that for children so much. I want them to be able to enjoy their childhood and their, young adulthood and their old life. I want them to enjoy that so much. And I'm like, I need to do more. I really need to do more.
Hey everyone, how's it going? Hope you're all having an awesome day. So today I'm here with Dr. Natalie Santiago, who's a board-certified vegan pediatrician. And on Instagram, she's known as the Vegan Pediatrician, and you're also on Facebook as well, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, I just thought it'd be cool to sit down with Natalie, get her insight on her journey into veganism and becoming the vegan pediatrician, and just some quick tips on how you can think about raising vegan children if that's something that you're interested in. So yeah, thanks so much for being here.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
Of course. You definitely don't want to miss her on October 6th. We're going to be doing a vegan panel as well. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, so for now, do you want to talk a little bit about your journey into becoming vegan? You said you were vegetarian before that, right?
Yes. So, long story short, I was basically born vegan. As a baby, I could not digest cow's milk. Excuse me, there's a little fly there. So, back in the 70s, when I was a baby, 60s and 70s, it really wasn't encouraged in my community for moms to breastfeed. And so moms were encouraged to formula feed. Well, I couldn't tolerate regular cow's milk formula. So my mom had to give me, I believe it was a soy-based formula. So already that was a sign that I just was not meant to, digest animal products. At about maybe 2 or 3, I remember asking my mom, where did meat come from?
Yeah.
And my mom, being an educator, she gave me a very appropriate answer, child-appropriate answer about where our meat came from. And I remember asking her, why couldn't we just wait for the animals to die instead of killing them?
Yeah.
Which, of course, was another sign. And my mom told me that when we would go to birthday parties, other kids would eat the hot dog, and I would leave the hot dog and eat the bun. Yet another sign. Eventually, I did start to eat meat. It was offered. It wasn't forced on me. And I began to eat it. But as a teenager, I started having these... these thoughts of, this is really horrible, animals being used in experiments, animals being, mistreated. And one day I woke up in April of 1988, and I can't describe it as anything other than the voice of God that asked me, if you're against animal cruelty, you're against animals being used in experiments, why do you eat them?
Wow.
And I was like, oh, okay. So then I just never did again.
That's so wild.
Yeah. And it was just that simple. I never did again.
And so how long were you vegetarian for then?
Yeah, so I was vegetarian from 1988, April 5th, 1988, until April of 2012. I did want to say also that about a year before becoming vegetarian, I read a book by Billy Ray Boyd called For the Vegetarian in You. And at that time that I read it, I thought that vegetarians were crazy. I'm like, there's no way that you can really be a vegetarian and live, even though I knew all these famous vegetarians, Dick Gregory, Paul McCartney. He was actually vegan. At that time, I didn't really know the word vegan. At that time, more popular was strict vegetarian. But I knew that he was, Paul McCartney, some other people, Linda McCartney, his wife and his children. But I didn't think that was something that I could do. I thought that they were crazy. Interestingly enough, after a year later, I became one of those crazy people. And all along I knew how animals were treated, dairy, in the dairy, cows, how they were treated in the dairy industry. Let me just back up. I initially was lacto-ovo vegetarian, so I ate dairy and I ate eggs. I realized that I didn't really care that much for eggs, so giving up the eggs was really not an issue for me. But I was lacto-vegetarian for many years until April of 2012. In April of 2012, I read an article in Veg News about the dairy industry, and it wasn't telling me anything that I didn't already know, but for whatever reason, just somehow something in that article just clicked for me, and I was like, oh, that's it. And so the Chicago girl who loves stuffed pizza, who lived on pizza as a student, gave up the dairy.
Wow.
And so I became vegan in April of 2012.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
And so how did you feel after making that decision? Did you notice benefits right away, or did it take some time? Or
Yeah, I had a physical, just a general physical, maybe a couple of months before giving up the dairy, and I was, I've always been, relatively healthy, even though I've always, had issues with my weight. But otherwise, I was very healthy, and my total cholesterol was maybe 150, which is still, in the healthy range. It's under 170. I had another physical, sometime after giving up the dairy, and had my cholesterol checked again, and it had dropped to about 130. Just before becoming vegan, I really wasn't even eating that much dairy, so I was having maybe a stick of string cheese during the day and maybe a yogurt.
Right, which is normally what people say would be healthy foods.
Right, healthy.
Right.
So I was having maybe 1 to 2 servings of dairy a day, and just cutting that out dropped my total cholesterol over 20 points.
Wow, that's a big deal.
Yeah. So I did notice that change right away.
And so at this point, you were already a pediatrician after becoming vegan, or was it before becoming vegan that you were a pediatrician, or what's your story with that?
Yes, so I was already vegetarian during undergrad, med school, residency, and through my first few years of practice. So when I became vegan in 2012, I had already been in practice by that time for about five years. So I'd already been talking with parents about, the importance of diet and the role of disease prevention. And even before that, I was talking with parents about not really needing milk. I actually met a parent, I became reacquainted with a parent a few months ago who told me that I had told her years ago that her daughter, she said her daughter didn't like milk. And she said, doctor, you told me that my daughter didn't even need milk. And this was before I became vegan, and so I was already talking with parents about that.
Wow, that's so amazing. I feel like it's so rare to hear from medical doctors that the vegan perspective of things, vegetarian perspective. So do you notice, as the vegan pediatrician, do you notice a lot of resistance with the patients who, people questioning your insight on nutrition and stuff, or do you feel like people are pretty open to it?
Yeah, I feel that people are open because even though there's always this talk that doctors don't know anything about nutrition, I do find that my parents, for the most part, they do respect my training. They respect what I say. And they want the best for their children.
Right.
And so, when I give them recommendations, they're pretty receptive.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really great. And so what was your goal with starting the vegan pediatrician kind of persona and everything that you have on Instagram and Facebook? What's your idea behind that?
Yeah, so what I noticed was, when I was in medical school, I would learn all these things about, diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol. I'm like, those are, adult diseases. I'm not really going to have to worry a whole lot about that. My role is going to be only in the prevention. I'm not going to see that really. And I started to see a lot of children with hypertension, a lot of children who were not just a little bit overweight, who could, easily work it off with little tweaks, with exercise and little tweaks with diet. But I started to see children with who were very obese, who were pre-diabetic, who even had type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. And so that was really, really tragic to me, because I think back about my own childhood, summer spent, playing and running all day and, just enjoying my life. And I want that for children so much. I want them to be able to enjoy their childhood and their, young adulthood and their old life. I want them to enjoy that so much. And I'm like, I need to do more. I really need to do more. And, medicine has really changed a lot. And so we're only really given, such a short time in the exam room. And so I wanted to be able to reach more families, more parents on a much broader scale, and be able to get more information out there than just that little 7-minute visit where we have to cover so much, and I'm only left a short amount of time to talk about nutrition and lifestyle.
That's amazing. It's like you're basically just providing a bunch of free resources for people to just be able to not think about so much. And it's like all the research is just right there, done for you, and it's just presented in these videos and Instagram posts. We were just talking about how amazing YouTube and Instagram are just to really change the game with sharing information like that.
Yeah.
So what kinds of things would you say people who you see deal with most? Like what kinds of health issues would you say are the most common that you see in kids and stuff?
Yeah, health issues that I see in kids, I see a lot of asthma, I see a lot of headache, but I also see a lot of headache that is due to the diet. So a lot of the, hot chips and things. I see a lot of pre-diabetes, so I'll see children who are even, that are mildly overweight, who will have like the color changes on the back of their neck, where it's getting kind of dark. Or they'll have like the color changes here on their cheeks, where it's getting kind of dark. Those are signs of their bodies are not processing the sugar in their diet properly. So I see a lot of that. I do see a lot of childhood obesity. I do see some hypertension.
Wow, that's a lot. Those are a lot of things to see in kids.
Those are the scary adult world things that I just never thought that I would see to this degree in children.
That is really scary.
It is.
And do you think that's just a product of culture or media, or just like what do you think that causes those problems?
A lot of it is multifactorial. So I practice in the community where I grew up. I practice in Roseland, and so Roseland, like many communities, has really changed. So some of it is food accessibility. So if there's no good grocery store in your area, or the grocery store does not really sell, good produce, fresh produce, that can be a problem. Or you don't have a grocery store at all, but you have all these fast food restaurants that will give you this basically garbage food for what appears to be a low price. Your main goal as a parent is to feed your child. And so, you may be more likely to gravitate toward those things. So that's a big problem, is the food accessibility. Some parents, are just very, very busy. It's much easier just to pop a pizza in the oven.
Sure,
we're all busy, correct. It's the convenience. Safety, as a kid I could play outside. Some children, they're just not able to. So, the exercise thing plays a role as well.
That's a good point.
So it's not just the diet, it's a lot of different things. But again, I think that parents really want the best for their children. And so I think that if we can, as health professionals, if we can kind of provide parents with, some different tips to kind of help them to make the best of, their situation that they have, and work within that, we can make some changes for kids.
Yeah. So what would be your advice to say that there is a family who came to you for help and said that, it was a very limited access to fresh fruits and vegetables and stuff? What would be your first initial steps for how they can begin making practical changes in their diet?
Yeah, so for some families, depending on the time of year, there are farmers markets. So farmers markets are places where you can get inexpensive produce. For families who get SNAP benefits, The city of Chicago farmers markets, if they're run by the city of Chicago or sponsored by city of Chicago, if you get STEP benefits, you can use your link card to get your produce. There are some local food pantries that they may not give out fresh produce, but they may give out, some canned vegetables and fruits. Those are not always the best, but they are a better alternative to some of the fast foods.
Sure, yeah.
So that's always an option too. And then for parents who do have the means to get to like one of the neighborhood or the area discount stores, many people think that those stores only sell canned goods or only boxed foods. But many of them, they do sell a lot of really good produce. One in particular, I don't think I can mention them by name, but it's a store that has been around for some time, known for discounted goods. They have a really, really good fresh produce section, and getting your like your grains and your beans in bulk is a great way to get really good food for very little money.
Right. Has there ever been a time where you've met someone and you felt like they're too far gone in one way to be changed?
Good question. I don't believe that it's ever too late to make a change. People can have had, heart attacks and strokes and can change their diet and can turn things around. So I really do want to empower people that it's never too late to make those changes.
And so if people want to come see you and stuff like that, how do they set up an appointment or consultation, or how can they access your services and stuff?
Yeah, so I do have a scheduling app that is a little tricky sometimes. I'm still working that through. So the best way to reach out to me is to inbox me either through my website, theveganpediatrician.com, or you can inbox me through social media. I'm the Vegan Pediatrician on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram.
Awesome. Well, you guys, that was Natalie Santiago, board certified pediatrician. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And so you guys, on October 6th, we are doing an event along with Chris Christian, who's a vegan fitness and nutrition instructor. And we're going to be doing a little bit of a vegan health panel. So that'll be at Soul Vegetarian Restaurant on October 6th at 6 p.m. So definitely come on out to that. And definitely come out to the Midwest March for Animals on October 14th. And see you guys soon. Thanks for joining.